Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Jair Melchior, Chief Rabbi of Denmark. Hello, Rabbi, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you to be here, though I need to apologize that after Rosh Hashanah sermon I became a bit ill, and so I hope everyone can understand what I'm saying.
Well, this is the time of Jewish holidays, and hence our conversation will not focus on a certain Torah portion. We are going to talk about the holiday of Sukkot, but let's begin with the Torah. The Torah mentions Sukkot, the holiday of Sukkot, more than once. It mentions it a couple of times in several places. So which of these places is the most accurate or the closest to the way we celebrate Sukkot today?
No, I don't know which is the most accurate, but the place where at least we refer to the most is, of course, from Sefer Vayikra. But I want to claim that even in Sefer Vayikra, in the chapter 23,
of
the
Leviticus, for those who don't know what Vayikra is. The book of Leviticus.
Even there, Sukkot is mentioned a few times. And it's quite a weird concept if we look into the text. Because the text starts with the same way it started with all the Chagim that were named before. Starts from Pesach through Sfirat HaOmer, Shavuot,
Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur, then comes to Sukkot. And the format usually is the same, with not too much information, mostly information about the sacrifices, the korbanot, and not too much about the content. For example, in Pesach, it doesn't mention too much about the rules of matzot, and it's mainly
remembering the Exodus from Egypt. It's mostly about remembering Egypt and
no, even that it doesn't. The Torah even doesn't mention that. The Torah in Vayikra is very accurate about what's happening in the temple until we come to Sukkot.
Okay.
And it's in Sukkot. It looks as if they conclude in the middle of the text. It says, "Suddenly, milvad shabtot Hashem, milvad matnotachem, milvad konidrechem." These are the holidays that you need to call Mikrei Kodesh, you need to celebrate. It's the same word that started the whole parasha when we talked about Pesach.
So it feels as if we just completed talking about the holidays.
Yeah. And then the Torah continues and brings again the celebrating Chag Sukkot. 3 times the Torah says in 11 psukim, 3 times it says the date of Sukkot. It starts in the beginning. דבר בישראל לאמור ב-15 יום לחודש השביעי חג סוכות. It says it again in 39. אך ב-15 יום לחודש השביעי באוספכם תחוגו את חג השם 7 ימים. You need to celebrate the 15th of the 7th month. It says that the first time. It says that in 39. And then again, in 41, it says, וחגותם אותו חג להשם 7 ימים בשנה, בחודש השביעי תחוגו אותו. In the 7th month, you will celebrate 7 days. That says in 41. 3 times in the text of 11 psukim, they need to mention the time of the year, the date, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, well, so what makes the holiday so complicated for us to understand? Why do we need such three reminders?
I don't think it's 3 reminders. I think that the Torah gives 3 different focuses on Sukkot right here in this text. Within this text, it has 3 different aspects that are in a way isolated from each other, but of course they combined are what Sukkot is.
Okay.
But in a way, it starts from the temple, from the aspects of the sermons, and that is, the less relevant for us as Jews today. And then continues with this very special and very explained verse of the Arbat Aminim, of the especially the lulav, doesn't say lulav, pri yetzada, kapot marim, manaf etzavot, nachal, which in the Torah it's not clear what you're doing with them.
The four things that we put together and bless on during Sukkot, the etrog, the lulav, etc.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one thing, and for that they give it a date, and then the Torah brings the date again, and says, "וחגותם אותו חג להשם 7 ימים בשנה, בחודש השביעי תחוגו אותו, בסוכות תשבו 7 ימים." That you sit in the sukkah 7 days. And this, here comes the aspect of Sukkot, of the sitting in the Sukkah, and all of that. Now, the interesting part that I want to focus is in this pasuk, that suddenly it says a date. It says it's in the seventh month, but it doesn't say when in the month. Before it says twice, the 15th.
Right.
So when the Torah wanted to mention the 15th, it did. And now the Torah decides not to mention, which is quite a weird thing. Why mention the month and not mention the date? And it does say, Shivat Yamim Bashana. For the first time, it comes and say, we have 7 days that are connected to the whole year. Not only to the month, it's 7 days among a year.
Okay.
So in a way, I think the Torah here, when we come to the Sukkah, wants to say, these 7 days are, in a way, connected to the whole year around. It's not a celebration only of Sukkot. It's a celebration that's supposed to be connected to the whole aspects of Jewish life the whole year around.
And why is the Sukkah connected to the whole year more than the matzah on Pesach or other things that we do in other holidays?
I would say because of the... we talk about the Sukkah's Dirat Arai, a contemporary residence. And the contemporary residence is supposed to...
Yes.
What?
Temporary residence.
Yeah, not contemporary, of course. Temporary residence. And the temporary residence is supposed to reflect our everyday living in a house, in a place that is not temporary. And in that way, they come and say, this is Shiv'a Yamim Bashana. It's 7 days. 7 days is a round number. It's a whole number.
Right.
Like all 7 days, something will happen. It doesn't really matter when it starts, when it ends. It's not about that. Here, they want to say, 7 days in a year, you need to do something. You need to have a whole period of a Shavua, of 1 week, of 7 days that will be an example for the rest of the year. It won't be the same because it will be different. It will be something that affects the rest of the year.
So what is it? It's a reminder that every week is unique and every week is temporary, so to speak, because the next week is going to be different?
Or the opposite.
Or the opposite.
Or to say 7 days is the prototype of something that's supposed to be all year round. Not that you're supposed to sit in the Sukkah, but what you experience here, you experience a whole thing that is supposed to be something you study to the rest of the year. It's 7 days and not just something you do for 1 day or two, because it has to be a full experience. I think that is something that it's very easy to forget about. We do 7 days because we know it's supposed to. The Torah says 7 days, so we do 7 days. I think that when the Torah says 7 days in a year, they come and say there's a reason it is 7 days. Because there's something whole you experience. You experience the whole 7 day through. You're living in a way. If it was only a few days, maybe it's like the big difference between having a camp or having a real camp. If you have camp with children that is less than a week, then it's like, it's not serious yet. But when it's a whole week, then it's a full experience. If you don't have Shabbat in, if you don't have the whole week inside, then it's just a taste. You take a whole unit of these weeks and make it to a special thing. It doesn't say the same thing when matzah, eating matzot Shivat, it doesn't say that.
Right.
The Sukkot, it says Shivat Yamim Bashana. It connects it in a very special way And I think they try to make us aware of the time, of the meaning of time. How do you experience things? What is the whole thing? When we do things, when we experience things, what kind of meaning they have? Are they real? Are they something that exists as a whole thing? And here in the Sukkot, and it said specifically when they come to Leshevet Basukah. It didn't say it before, it says it now. When you come to the Yeshiva Basukah, because it's something that connects us to the way we live our life all year around. Which comes, of course, to the classical meaningful of the classical meaning of what is our sitting in the Sukkah. Why do we sit in the Sukkah? What does our house mean? It takes the thing that we all take for granted and say, stop and look.
Right.
You have to experience the whole week outside of your home. And it's to be a whole thing. You need really to live it all the way through, not only to taste it.
So that
There
the
needs to
rest
be a
of
whole
the year, you will remember that the house you're living in is a real house.
Yeah, or the opposite. When you live in the real house, you remember that there's nothing that is really real. Sukkah reminds us of the whole temporary existence, and the temporary is connected to the idea of time, the idea of 1 week, year. Look on these matters and live every one of them. I think another aspect we can learn from here, understand that a whole week is something. It's a whole thing. So maybe we can make every week a whole thing. And then not just let the weeks go by, the days go by without a meaning. This is what Sukkot comes and reminds us once in a year.
Well, Sukkot is really upon us, and it's very real. So thank you, Rabbi, and Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach to you and to all the listeners.